Okay, first off, we have seeds showing up on the evolutionary timeline, and specifically, we have different types of seeds. And so what we see showing up are either monocots or eudicots. The names of the groups refer to the cotyledons. These are the seed leaves. These are the first leaves to emerge from a growing seed. So if you've ever tried to grow a seed, you see this growth spurt come out of it. Those are the cotyledons that are emerging from the seed. So the monocots are one seed leaf or one cotyledon, and the eudicots, U means true, di means two, cotyledons, two seed leaves are going to be found in these guys. So just grouping them based on these seed leaves, these cotyledons, they actually have different structures that are going to be parts of those groups as well. So it's a beautiful way to categorize them. So here on this row, we have my monocots. These are going to be grasses, grains, orchids, and palms. And here, eudicots on this second row here. These are nearly all fleshy fruits, vegetables, shrubs, broad-leaved trees, etc. So here on these seed leaves, I can see the emerging one cotyledon. These monocots, so mono, one cotyledon. The veins of the leaf are usually going to be parallel. What I mean by that is they run in straight lines. We don't see any branching like effect going on. As in with the eudicots, I do see a branching network from those veins located along the leaf structure. The stems of these guys are usually going to be arranged in vascular bundles that are scattered throughout, where in eudicots, you're actually going to see an arrangement of those vascular bundles around the stem line. Pollen grains from monocots are going to have one little opening, whereas in the eudicots, we actually see multiple openings, 3 in this example. The flowers for monocots are actually going to have multiples of 3 for the petals, so I can actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals here. And down here for the eudicots, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So multiples of 4 or 5. There won't be multiples of 3. That's a way that we can classify them. The monocots have a fibrous root system, so I can actually see large branching, very similar to the mycelial network for the fungus that we just discussed. And the roots for the eudicots are actually going to be a large central area known as a taproot that goes down, and off the taproot we see this branching occurring for the eudicots. So there's differences other than how many cotyledons are present. So let's talk about seed germination in a garden bean. Germination is a nice fancy word to tell you that growth is occurring. And seed growth occurs when environmental conditions are right. So maybe that seed was dispersed in an environment that's cold, it's dry, there's not a lot of water available. That seed is going to stay a seed, and it's not going to grow. It's going to be dormant, so a period of inactivity, until it reaches the conditions that it favors. Some water's present. Maybe it's embedded in the soil now, so it has that nice moist environment around it. The uptake of water is really going to signal that event. So here I can actually see an embryonic shoot forming from the seed. I can see growth occurring. The cotyledon becomes present from that seed. I'm actually showing you a eudicot here because I have 2 cotyledons forming, one in the back, one in the front. I can actually see that taproot forming on the bottom, that nice thick central area that's going to extend downwards into the soil. And then I can actually see continued growth for that guy. So looking at some terrestrial adaptations for plants, remember that plants have specialized structures in order to help them transition from an aquatic environment to now a dry land terrestrial environment. And what I'm going to teach you here is the root and shoot system. So first I want to talk about the root system. The root system is that found in the soil, and it's going to increase the surface area of the plant to help it acquire those nice tasty nutrients to help with life's functions. So if I focus on an alga here, alga are not going to be found in dry environments. They are going to be in an aquatic environment. They don't have the necessary structures to obtain that carbon dioxide that's needed for photosynthesis in the air. They obtain that carbon by other means in those aquatic ecosystems. So it needs water as well to support its body upright. So to go from here to here, we have a root system. I can actually see here in the alga, not a lot is embedded in that land area because it achieves everything it needs to in the water environment. Well, now here we have the root system that's going to anchor the plant into the land. It's going to help it with absorbing the minerals that it needs. No longer does the water just need to flow into that area. It can actually absorb those surrounding nutrients. The shoot system is that's found above ground, or the air, if you will. The shoot is going to help with photosynthetic events, as well as housing reproductive structures. So I can see the stem holding it upright. I can see cuticles, waxy cuticles that are going to help retain water, prevent dehydration. We have the stomata in the leaves that are going to help with gas exchange. We have carbon dioxide coming in, oxygen going out. Photosynthesis will occur in the leaves as well. In addition, upright, we have our beautiful flower. These are reproductive structures that are going to contain spores and gametes. Looking into the root system, tap roots store food as starch or sucrose. So think of your vegetables, these tap roots here. So sugars are made in leaves in the process of photosynthesis, mainly, and those sugars are transported down, I'll talk about transporting in a bit, all the way down to the taproot, and this is where they are stored. So nice sugary, high energy area in the taproot. Think of carrots, sweet potatoes, all of these arise from the taproot. From the taproot, just depends on the species that you're talking about. Plant roots, in addition, I want to show you, have a remarkable capacity for absorption means. High surface area is found in the taproot. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of space in order to absorb nutrients because of a simple structure known as root hairs. Root hairs extend out of the taproot, and I can actually see these small little structures, and these little structures are going to help promote having more space for absorption to take place. Let's talk about the three tissue system of a plant. I love this image. It shows you where we find those tissue systems depending on where you slice it along on the plant. So first up, colored in brown in these images, are the dermal tissue. The dermal tissue is the outer protective covering. Think of your own dermis. Think of your skin. I can actually see your dermis. Your skin is protecting those more delicate internal tissues that you guys have in your body. So think of your nervous system, think of your vascular system. Your dermis is helping protect that. Well, in plants as well, they have dermal tissue. This is an outer protective covering. It's the first line of defense against physical damage. So if that plant gets sliced up in any way from damage, maybe an insect is biting into it, it first needs to get through the dermal tissue. The dermal tissue is where we find something called a cuticle. This is a waxy coating, which is going to prevent dehydration. So I actually want to go ahead and focus on this area here. The stem is what I'm going to be focusing on as I talk through this. And highlighted in brown here, the outside of this eudicot and this monocot is the dermal tissue. It's the outer covering. The next type of tissue is ground tissue. Ground tissue is colored in yellow in these images, and ground tissue is the majority of the plant. There are many different functions of ground tissue, but mainly in ground tissue we have photosynthesis occurring. It's going to be involved in storage and support for the plant. So we can actually see in both eudicots and monocots that yellow area, pretty much the majority of the stem is ground tissue. Lastly, I have vascular tissue. Vascular tissue is highlighted in purple, and it is going to be the xylem and the phloem. This is involved in support and mainly transportation that we're going to discuss. So trying to get things from the root to the shoot of the plant, from the shoot to the root. There's got to be a way to transport nutrients and sugars all throughout. That's vascular tissue. I can see that they're arranged in these bundles, kind of more in the periphery in eudicots, and monocots just kind of randomly arranged.